That's good. We're recording. Okay, Danielle, what's up? How you feeling tonight? Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm feeling great. How are you?
Oh man, like I'm good. Like I said, got home from the gym, got my workout in. Actually, I did two workouts today. So
Thank
uh,
you.
I'm training for a half marathon, and
Okay.
so I did that at lunchtime. I ran 6 miles, and then I went and got my regular CrossFit workout in, and that's a typical day for me. So now I'm here talking with you, seeing what's up.
Nice. Nice. Well, that's pretty intense. So half marathon and CrossFit.
Yeah, this past month and a half has been pretty intense for me. My body's almost got a shockwave brought upon it. So never been a runner, but this was a group of friends want to do a triathlon, and I'm the marathon leg of it. It's a 3-person triathlon. So
Oh, got it. Got it. Well,
yeah,
that's fun.
yeah. So it's something hard, something challenging, something I wanted to try, and yeah, like you were talking about earlier before we started, to do hard things, you grow usually, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. So,
exactly. I love that
and
motto.
one way to stand out in the crowd.
So before we speaking of all that, so before we start going too far, so that listeners know and everyone knows, you were a luxury fitness personal training manager. Then you decided to become a life coach, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
So,
what happened? What sparked this?
so, so I was, first I started off as a trainer. And I mean, I'm sure all the trainers out there would agree that training is so much more than obviously writing programs and things of that nature. You do really create a strong relationship with your clients, and in doing so, people tend to open up, maybe sometimes a little too much.
Mhm.
Um, so there was a lot of that in my personal training career, and then I went into management and was managing the personal trainers and coaching them into building their business. And in doing that, again, as a manager, a lot of people will come into your office and want to talk to you about, some personal things and kind of have to help them through that. And I started realizing that I was doing a lot more than just managing and more than personal training. But I felt a little unethical because I didn't have the background to fully coach. So I went back to school as I was still working as a manager for personal life coaching. And then I did leadership coaching and then master of health coaching. So I did a deep dive into all these certifications. I mean, I went for, I think, 6 different certifications, all within 2 years.
Impressive.
Um, yeah. And then I was just like, man, I like love this stuff. Like, this is great. And I just, I kind of, as soon as I launched my website, I went to my manager and I was like, you know what, I think this is it. I think I gotta go. And she's like, well, do you have a book of clients? I'm like, no, I don't. And she's like, well, how are you gonna make it? I'm like, I'll make it. Faith is stronger than proof at this point. I just have to go for it and make it happen. And that's what I did, and started working with several different people. I still do personal training on the side, but a lot of it is encompassing with life coaching and master
Mm.
health coaching as well.
Did you always want to be a personal trainer?
No, no. Prior to
Oh,
personal
right.
training, I was in marketing. So I was actually working for a marketing agency for Pepsi.
Okay.
Um, Talk about job security, right? I was like food service advertisement, fast food industry, and then all of a sudden complete 180 to personal training. But same kind of thing in that scenario. I was, working in this advertisement agency, and then going to school at night for kinesiology, exercise science. And once I got my degree, I then decided to veer into personal training, and then just kind of headstrong and went tunnel vision towards the goal. And that was it.
Yeah. So, I mean, a little bit going back with me though, that I never went down the personal training outlet just because I always wanted to do more of the strength and conditioning coach side of it, more sports things. And that was like, I went for PE in my bachelor's,
Yeah.
and I thought about going to personal training, but I just didn't think that was for me. So, but then like I said, I wanted to go for strength and conditioning until I found out that, oh man, my dogs are acting up, that, they work like 16-hour days, right? And I was like, I don't know about that. I was like, I like working out and I like helping people, but I want to do it for that long. for that much. But I guess my next question or whatever I wanted to ask you was that, do most people, like, I don't remember a lot of people actually confiding in me and talking about other things other than like fitness things. Is that kind of what people were doing with you as a personal trainer?
No, no,
And that's why.
no. And so it's funny. So I went to the gym, like, I think this was like 2 weeks ago, and met this gentleman first time. So I, just being friendly, saying hello. And all of a sudden he just started telling me everything about his life, like his mental illness, and then his physical illnesses, and all these things that he's overcoming and working to fight against. And I'm just listening and just kind of validating his emotions, and agreeing with the fact that he's going through a tough time. And he was just sitting there and he was like, I don't know why I'm telling you all this. I just met you. And I'm like, it's cool. I'm like, it's okay. It's fine. I'm like, I appreciate you confiding in me. I'm flattered. And I think, I don't know what it is, but my entire family has this kind of ability to, I guess, have people talk to them. I don't know what it is. I think people just kind of open up, and I think partly because, and I think I said this to you earlier, I am an open book, and I don't, tend to hide anything of myself. And I think people kind of sense that. So in allowing a little bit of your own vulnerabilities and your own flaws to show, I think people kind of feel more comfortable doing the same in return. And I think that's kind of, it disarms people a little bit.
What's one of those things that, I don't know, most people have problems. Most of the people that I've talked to on here, a common theme is like everyone seems to be dealing with some type of problem, some type of thing they can't get out of their own way, but eventually they find ways of doing it. That seems to be the common theme, right? Mm-hmm. And that, when they find somebody like yourself, that it's one of those things that, I guess I'm generally speaking too, it's like, ooh, and maybe they open up about one problem and then it just starts coming out, right? Because they usually people probably don't have somebody just to vent with, and it's like they just want somebody to listen, even though they can't solve all their problems in one day. It's just that, even though you're a personal trainer, it's just nice to get a few things off your chest at the same time. And you're spending like maybe typically roughly an hour with that personal trainer. So,
but like 3 to maybe even 5 hours a week, so it's not like you're a hairdresser. You build a stronger relationship with that person,
Yeah. Especially when, you're telling them everything, like why you started working out, like, did you get fat shamed? Do you just want to be healthier? Do you just want to, it's a vanity thing, whatever it is. And that you're almost confiding in them without even knowing it in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny is a lot of times you find that their initial cause to train is not necessarily the real reason, mm-hmm. So when someone says, I just broke up with my ex and I want the revenge body.
Sure.
All right, cool. Common, right? Like a lot of people go through that. But so why is that revenge body important to you? And then they'll give you the answer. And then again, with another why, right? So they call it the 5 whys, although you wouldn't necessarily ask it like why 5 times, sure. But you would kind of, peel that onion, the layers of the onion, to find out the true reason why that person's actually starting, right? And I think once you start asking these open-ended questions, it allows for them to speak more openly, sure. Instead of just like that yes or no, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the great things about this podcast is that, there's open-ended questions, like you said, that it helps me formulate my thoughts on whatever topic rather than just saying no or yes, and I can actually explain why. And then, like, I don't know about the 5 whys, but I can actually give you reasoning or justification. And then usually as I'm talking, that things start to work out in my head. It's like, maybe I didn't really think about it like that. And then, or you just never really said it out loud before. And yeah. So, is that really what I wanted though? Why did I say it like that? And then you kind of start to dig deeper from there. And then you're like, oh, wait, maybe I am onto something, or maybe I didn't really want that, or maybe I do want to go quit personal training and just go be a life coach.
Yeah, exactly. And then, and then it's also giving you the opportunity to perhaps dissect that thought and then maybe see, hey, am I really interpreting, or is my perception accurate right now? Or is there another way that I can look at this?
Mm,
Right? Because if there is, then like, let's open that door up and see what other ways you can look at something. Right?
yeah.
There may be 5 different ways you could look at a situation. And then maybe just by changing your outlook or your perception can, be life changing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like, like you just said, that example that you want the revenge body after a breakup. And it's just like your tunnel vision. That's, you see it in entertainment, society, culture, whatever, that it's like, oh, you go through a breakup. I got to get, back on a high horse and, look good again. And that's why it's only going to mean something for me. But in the end, if you, like you're saying, if you take a minute and self-reflect or be self-aware that, was that relationship, was that really what you were supposed to be in anyway? Maybe it was a good maybe it was a good thing you got out of it. Maybe it was a good thing you got dumped. I mean, it sucks. I know I've been dumped and I hate it, but it's one of those things that, well, maybe looking back at it now is probably a good thing.
Yeah. And there's always a lesson, right?
Sure.
Yeah. As long as you're open to learning it, I think that's the other key. When someone, going into, let's talk about relationships for a second, but when someone goes through a breakup, understanding that, there it takes two to tango, it takes two to break up. Right. It's that like self-reflection. Maybe someone didn't do right by you, but then, okay, but what was my responsibility to the relationship that maybe I wasn't fulfilling? Right. So there's always two sides, and then exploring that. What could I have done differently in that relationship to have a different outcome so that I can learn and grow, and maybe my next relationship, I can show up better and be a better partner.
Yeah. No, I like how you said that. In Will Smith's book, he puts that, in school, you get the lesson and then you have to take the test, right? And then you find out if you fail or pass. But in life, you actually have to test first and then you get the lesson and figure out what you learned and what you didn't learn.
Yeah.
Go from there. And I was like, man, once he put it like that in his book, it's like, that makes so much sense,
have you ever read the book, The Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck?
I don't think so.
Oh, she's great. So she has a couple of TEDx talks, and she talks about pass or fail. And one of the studies that she had done was the communication of failure, right? So instead of saying pass or fail, it's pass or not yet.
Ooh.
Right? There's a different There's a different tone to that. Once you say not yet, it's like you're still in the process of becoming a better person than you were yesterday. You just need a little bit more to get there. So keep it going. So it's more than like mastery orientation. Like you're focusing more so on the process of growth as opposed to the destination of that revenge body. Right. So you're focusing on bettering yourself, on being a better partner, on being a healthier human, right? Each day doing these little things that get you there. Atomic Habit talks about that as well, right? These little stuff that you do every day. So she talks a lot about that, and how that also influences children at like, even the age of like elementary school. So it's really interesting study.
And that was Growth Mindset by who? I wrote Growth Mindset down. The Growth Mindset by who?
Carol Dweck.
Carol Dweck. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's how you pronounce her last name. But if you say Growth Mindset and Google it, she'll pop up. She's like the queen of it.
All right. But that makes perfect sense. Like if you just say not yet rather than just saying, oh, I've already failed, that, if you already get told you failed, you almost immediately stop whatever you're doing. If you're even trying to grow from a situation. And it's like, not only does it just like negative feedback into your brain, but you just start to go down that negative feedback loop. And then you just think, oh, I keep trying. I'm always just going to keep failing. But it's like, if you just spin those words around, like you just said, not yet. Just like, yeah, I haven't got there yet, but I'm working on it, Yeah,
exactly. And then like, going back to what you said about that negative feedback and talking about, negative self-talk. I mean, that's like, what was it? The water experiment with the Japanese doctor, Emoto. Oh, I forgot his name, but if you look up water experiment, it'll pop up. It's droplets were frozen from different water samples, right? So frozen droplets of water, and then they crystallize it into snowflakes.
Okay.
And then as they're crystallizing, you are saying you have two different samples, right, from the same water source. This one you're saying positive words to, and this one you're saying negative words to. And if you were to look at the images that he shows through the different communication that you have with each of these water droplets, it's crazy. One is fully organized into a beautiful snowflake, the other one's extremely messy, right? So now if you were to take that concept, now this is a little out there, but if you were to take that concept, right, and apply it to negative self-talk, knowing that we are mostly made of water.
So like 70%, right?
Yeah. So if we're mostly made of water and our voice and our ability to speak negatively to a water droplet has the ability to make it either crystallize in a beautiful format or crystallize in a chaotic, negative, not pretty format, then imagine what your own negative self-talk is doing to you internally.
Yeah, people don't realize that. They don't realize that, they get stuck in that feedback loop. And I think that's kind of what James Clear talks about in his book, Atomic Habits, and that, just each day by day by day, it just becomes sicker and sicker in their brain. And they don't know. So, all right. So this is a good example. I hope I don't overshare, but so I did a Spartan race this past weekend with one of my friends.
Yeah.
And on the way up, it was like an hour and a half away from where I'm at. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about depression and going down these loops and just how you get stuck in your own head about a certain, whatever the issue is, if you want to use a breakup or you get laid off at work or you fail a test, that you just get stuck in your own head and you don't know how to get out of your own head. But it's one of those things that he made the point that you're really just not embracing the pain, that you're trying to avoid it at all cost. It's like, I hope that I'm probably butchering this the way he explained it, but it made perfect sense at the time that you just embrace it and then you kind of overcome it that way. And yeah, I'm not saying that it's just that easy just to go embrace the pain, but there's other things too.
I believe in that. I think it's important to feel, right? I think it's important to have those emotions. Did I freeze for a second? I felt like I froze.
You may have, but I think you're back.
All right, good. So I think it's important to embrace those emotions, right? You're not going to ever know what a high feels like if you never feel a low, right? Okay. So it's important to go through the grieving process when you do go through a breakup or when you lose someone or something, right? That's important. It's part of the healing process. But what's scary is when you then again cycle into how you're grieving, right? Is it a loss or are you blaming yourself for the loss? So that's different, right? Because if you're blaming yourself for the loss, that is not a growth mindset at all, right? Then you're sitting there and you're like, I failed, right? Where's the growth in that? I failed. You didn't fail. This just wasn't the right one just yet. There's just a little more growth that needs to come out of this for you to continue. And the crazy thing about negative self-talk is that it actually triggers hormones in your brain and become addictive. So people become addicted to feeling shitty. People become addicted to not feeling so great, right? And then all of a sudden they start feeling great and they're like, well, this is not normal. Something's bad's going to happen, right? I'm just waiting for something bad to happen because I'm too happy. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, if you're sitting there waiting for something bad to happen, it's going to happen. Just like embrace the now, right? Just take a moment and just live for right now, which is hard for a lot of people to do, right? That level of conscious awareness is really tough.
Is that kind of thing that you track what you're putting out there? So if you're putting out there that negativity and expecting something bad to happen, it most likely will happen. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think it can, right? I think a lot of times because you end up looking for it.
Yeah.
You end up looking for it. So you'll find something bad because that's what you're expecting. So you'll find it. And then again, you are in that negative mindset, right? And that victim mentality where life is happening to you, not for you, kind of thing. And then
the issues in today's times that everyone likes to play that victim mentality card.
Well, yeah, because it's easy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no accountability. I have no accountability to the things that are happening to me. If they just happen to me, it's not my responsibility. I'm just like, woe is me, right? So that's just the easy way to just accept whatever it is that's happening. Now, if someone were to, you know, I mean, I'm gonna be crass here, but grow some balls and like say, hey, I'm going to take this on like a strong human and learn from it and grow from it. That's a totally different take, right? And then the
Sure.
growth that comes out of that is immeasurable. I
Yeah.
mean, you'll come out of it being a completely different person.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've always, like I was telling you before, I don't know if we were recording it, but if you do hard things, you seem to find out what you're made of. And even if it's not, like I'm not necessarily saying go out there and run half marathon tomorrow if you haven't ran in years, but if you keep challenging yourself across the way, that eventually good things start to happen. And you're also, you know, feeding yourself these good, positive things and maybe changing the way that brain's thinking. And I guess what I'm getting at is that, sometimes when I get on here, it seems like when people are going through some shit or whatever,
Yeah.
that I kind of feel like I make it easier than what it is, right? Like just saying, oh, just go do something, just, hey, stop, I shouldn't say that. I said, hey, we'll stop eating McDonald's every day and eat something better. Or, go for a walk around your block instead of watch 4 hours of Netflix when you get home,
Right.
And I feel like I make things easier than what they are because somebody explained it to me one time that, I just don't really get what's going on inside a person's head. And maybe it's that, this, if you want to say my growth mindset journey or this journey I set myself on that, I wanted to start doing harder things just because I got too comfortable almost right out of or
Yeah.
through in college. And after I finished college, I realized that, oh, wait, maybe I'm a loser now because I went back home and started living with mom and pop, and all my friends were going on and moving or moving to bigger cities and starting their life. And I was like, what the fuck am
Yeah.
I doing? Like I got
Yeah.
to do something better. And so I was like, let me continue down this journey. So I was like, if I can't keep sitting in this comfort zone, let me move on and take things as it is. And I guess for me, I thought that was a pretty easy thing to do just because I knew it would make me better at the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's sometimes the tough part, right? I know that you do CrossFit and probably coach on the side, I'm assuming, right? A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think as coaches, it's important for us to just kind of understand that everyone has their own journey, right? And their own struggles, and everyone's influencers, whether it's environmental, social, economic, spiritual, whatever it is going to be different than ours. Right. And so as coaches, it's important for us to remember that if we were to give advice, that our advice is biased based on our experiences, based on our past, based on our limiting beliefs, or fully beliefs in general, right? Which may not align with what the person in front of you believes in or has experienced. So it could be that like completely mismatch of, but I was able to do it and I did it, and it was hard, but I did it and I got it done. I don't understand why you can't do it. Well, it's probably something else going on with them, right? That maybe, you unfortunately aren't privy to because they haven't opened up yet,
Yeah.
and that's where, sometimes taking your client out for like a cup of coffee and being like, hey, after our training, let's go get a shake together and let's just chat and see what's going on.
Yeah.
That might be good so that you can understand really what's the barrier from them achieving that. But the other thing that you said too about, going after it and reaching new goals and new heights. I think it's also important for us to kind of lay out like an ABC plan for our clients.
Mm.
So A meaning like these are the things that I absolutely can do, like full green light, I'm absolutely able to do it. B being the yellow, I'll do it, it's gonna be tough. And red is like, there's no freaking way I'm running a half marathon. Hell no, right? You own the green, right?
Sure.
For like a week or two, you own the A's. And then for a week or two, and then you trickle in, okay, you own these. Let's put in a B.
Oh.
to do, and then you slowly start trickling in to the C's. So it's a slow introduction to the things that they at one point thought was completely unattainable. So it's those baby steps that we guide our clients through that help them get to walking a mile to then running 13.
Is that kind
Right.
of like when you started your life coaching, that you were kind of like what you had in your head, that, oh, baby steps? Or did you just say, I'm taking a deep dive, I'm going to see what happens? You know, when you found out that I'm giving this part up, that, or were you scared? Were you nervous? Like, how's this going to go?
Oh my God, totally. Absolutely petrified. Yeah. No, so I did a little bit of coaching as I was still working for the luxury facility.
Yeah.
And I was doing it on the side. I had maybe 2 clients, coaching clients, and no personal training clients, only the clients that I had at their facility, which I kept there. I didn't want to mess with that. Um, and so, but I was feeling, because I was putting so much energy into this company, I wasn't able to take on the energy and build my own thing. So as scary as it was, I knew that in order for me to fully dedicate my time and effort, I have to go and do this because that company was my safety net. And
Hmm.
that comfort was just holding me back. It was a safety net, but it was also my anchor. So my ship wasn't setting sail.
Good point.
So I just had to lift that anchor up and just say, listen, like I have to take the leap and try.
Travis Barker from Blink 182, the drummer, he
Yeah.
had kind of, he said it like this one time, that he didn't want to have a plan B because he knew if he had a plan B or that safety net, that he knew he wouldn't have tried as hard, that he would have just, you know, eventually the first obstacle, first wall he hit, whatever you want to say, he would have just like, okay, back towards that safety net. But I mean, with that said, you know, I kind of, when I started like taking chances or so, like I liked having a safety net because I knew if I failed, if I did fail, whatever, that I would be able to get back up again and keep trying. And then that's how I learned the most, is like taking chances. And that, I had to learn this. I was just like, I came out of the womb and just started taking
Yeah.
chances.
Yeah. Of course.
So, but yeah, like, I mean, I understand his point or his argument that, yeah, if you have a plan B, you'll always just kind of not try as hard. But for me, I feel like I could still try, knowing that I had a safety net. Just like, okay, take my L on this one. All right, let's try a new path and figure it out, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, and it's going to be different for everyone, right? I mean, what works for you worked for you. So, and then, and it did work for me for a little bit, but man, like with personal training and managing people, that's tough. And that's a lot of energy.
Sure.
That's a lot of energy that you're putting out into something, and then coming home and still having, trying to have somewhat of a social life, a boyfriend, and trying to have also a side hustle, which I'm trying to grow into my own business.
Yeah.
That was just a lot of energy that was being misplaced. So I just kind of had to bite the bullet and do it. And, I think it was funny. My boyfriend asked me the other day, he's like, do you miss the company at all? And I was like, I can't say I do.
Mm.
I can't say I do. I'm like, I'm having a lot of times when I would be there, like I would have the meetings and like do what I had to do. And then whenever I had a little break, I would work on my side business, but I was in company watch, right? So I kind of felt bad. I felt guilty. So I was like, I felt bad working on my own things when I had time to do it during my work hour.
Sure.
So now I just feel great because this is what I'm doing. I dedicate my time to this and I don't feel remorseful over it, right? I'm doing right by me and doing right by my clients, and I'm not being unethical, right, by working on another job while I'm not supposed to be. So yeah, I was like, I miss my trainers, I miss my clients, but I mean they're still friends, I mean those friendships will always be there. But yeah, like as far as the job itself, no, I do not miss it at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Not one bit.
something different. It's like a whole new feeling. It's a whole new level to create, your own autonomy, and that, you are your own boss, and that,
Yeah.
work whenever you want to work and do whatever you want to do during those hours. And it's one of those things that, and you're going back on like those examples we were using earlier, I don't know if people just, if there's an issue in this country that, okay, so for the education system, I was talking with somebody and we were talking about how you're actually told what to think and not really how to think anymore.
Mm.
And that mentality, that mindset, whatever you want to say, kind of carries along with you, whether you go to college or whether you go to, or just go straight to work out of that, because you're always being told you got to take these classes, you got to do this in order to, be X, Y, and Z, get this major, graduate or whatever. Then after that, you're always working for another boss. And again, I'm generally speaking that, and it's probably 90% of this country. I don't know, whatever. There's probably, that's a wrong statistic, but most people are working for somebody and having to be that person who is just being told what to do day in and day out, and they just want life to be like that way for them.
Yeah.
Until they can figure
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. That takes away the responsibility,
Yeah.
right? That takes away your ownership.
Yeah, people want it. It's just like, it's too easy for, I don't know if it's too easy, but people just want that now, rather than just, be told that, hey, this happens because of X, Y, and Z and A, B, and C, rather than just saying that, well, wait a minute, why does that happen? Or why does it have to be done that way? And then, and I don't know if they just want to keep living their lives like that, and then, get off at 5 o'clock, then go off.
But you being in academia, do you think it's still like that? Or do you think it's shifting a little bit?
It depends. I think it is shifting, but but not like a huge number, that, so where I work, it's a very small school, right?
Mhm.
And it's a public institution. It's probably a little less than 10,000 students.
Mhm.
But, if you don't have a name with your school, such as, I'm very close to Virginia Tech, right? If you know where that is, but it's all about football and engineering. So they already have that name of people will just want to go to that school just for football. I mean, that's where some students will just go there just because of the football team, right? And then obviously the school doesn't mind recruiting, or not even recruiting, but trying to make sure they get that marketed out there, just because, hey, we're in ACC. Hey, sometimes we do really well, and we do these at the games and come out the tunnel or whatever. But I think it is shifting, because, in a sense, like very little, like my said, because we are starting to see these technical colleges come up a little bit, because people are starting to think that, at 18, well, maybe I don't want to take out $150,000 in loans and, start out dead in a hole almost, and like, no way I want to get that back. And the frontal lobe doesn't even, you're almost setting yourself up for failure. And your frontal lobe doesn't even form until you're 23 or 24.
Yeah.
So, and some people were actually starting to think like, well, because I was one of those kids that was like, well, I only went to college because I thought I had to, so I wouldn't be a loser, And I went to community college first because I didn't get into all the others because I was an idiot. But I only went to community college because
you just weren't ready yet.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't ready yet. But I just only went because I thought I had to, and that was the only way to be successful. But I think people are starting to learn that, we're in the skill trades that, like brick masons, welders, electricians, like there's starting to be a need for those people. And like, oh, you can almost make as much money as you want to. And it's like, oh, well, maybe I'll just go down that road.
Yeah. And I think I'm seeing, well, I'm in Miami, so everyone here is an entrepreneur, right? Like everyone here is starting their own business. But like a lot of people are kind of not looking at college. And I mean, I can't give you a statistic, but I know it's growing. The amount of people choosing to not go to college, because they want to, be able to make money some other way. I mean, making money today is a lot. There's more, thanks to the internet, there's more avenues to make money, right? I mean, it may not be as easy as, or like the buying power is less, but the ability to come up with different revenues of income are greater now than they ever have been, because of, internet and all the technology is happening for that. So I think that a lot of people are not going to opt for college. And I think it's becoming less and less important, honestly. With a lot of the companies, if you show up and you have like this amazing technical skill, you see engineers and programming or coders that, didn't really get education from a school. Like I'm working with a company now, and a lot of their engineers were self-taught.
Sure.
I know
what you mean. Like, like I said earlier, I went and got my bachelor's in PE, got my master's in sports management because that's what I thought the road I wanted to go down on is. And now I work in IT, which, I never would have saw that coming. And I don't know, I guess I kind of fell into it. But to your point, like you said, that, with the internet, anybody can do anything they want to do as long as they don't mind putting in the grind with a couple hours to go through YouTube University, read a couple articles, find a podcast on something, take some deep dives, try some shit out, see what works and what doesn't work. And
what's cool about that is that people are able to really find their passion and go deep, right? Because a lot of times people go to school, and then I remember I had chemistry class, and my professor was foreign and had a really heavy accent. And it was my first chemistry class, and I couldn't understand a thing he was saying. And I was like, you know what, this is just not for me. I'm just not going to do this. But had I, just focused on the things that I was really interested at the time to focus on, I would have been a lot more motivated, right? And that passion brews more excitement and more curiosity, and it'll keep you going. And I think that now people have the ability to do that. If something excites you, go for it and explore it and be a pro at it and excel at that if that's what you want to do. Because if you love it, chances are you're going to succeed because you enjoy doing it.
But there's a lot of people who like to rain on people's parades and just, again, going back to the education or part of it, that, I guess I'm going to assume, do you know who Aaron Rodgers is?
I actually don't.
Quarterback for Green Bay?
Please, I'm Brazilian. I don't.
Okay. What is that? Well, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That's not the point. But the point is that I was listening to him on the podcast today when I was running, and that, he was asked at a young age, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And like he had a pipe dream. He said, I'm going to be an NFL quarterback or play in the NFL, whatever he said. Mm-hmm. And his guidance counselor or teacher, whatever, is like, no, you're not doing that. You don't have a chance. And he was immediately just shot down. And like those dreams that when people, how many kids or how many students, whatever you want to say, that when they say stuff like that, like, oh, I do want to be an astronaut, or, I don't know, I want to go be president or whatever you want to do. Like people are like, oh, well, that's probably not going to happen for you because what are the chances of that,
Yeah.
They just get shut down, and then they just, they're like, well, they had that first sense of failing, and then, like Aaron Rodgers obviously overcome it because he used that as motivation,
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'll show you, bro. No worries. But people are just like, all right, just go work in a factory. It's like everybody else. I mean, that's what you're meant to do. There's just dream crushers out there.
Yeah, and I mean, to have counselors like that, I had there was a counselor at my high school that kind of did the same thing to my sister. And I mean, now she's an amazing real estate agent out in Colorado. If anyone needs one, let me know. But she's doing amazing. She went to college, she did great. But they were saying like, don't even bother applying. And she was like, what? They're like, you're not gonna get into college, because she's also dyslexic. So they were just like, you're not gonna get in. And I mean, she did it, and she put in all the work, and was that grit. She stuck with it.
That's what you gotta have. And this, I think people like that grit, just like you said that very well. Like, so most people don't have that. That first sign of trouble, they just start running and just take the road that they.
Then I'm curious, is it because they don't have it, or is it because they're applying it in something that's not really authentic to them? Because I think if you find something that you truly love and are passionate about, I think it's easier to find that willpower.
But do you think most people do actually find things they love and have a passion for?
Do I think people can't find what they love? Is that what you're asking?
Can or can't. I mean, all right, so that makes perfect sense on what you said, because I don't know how many people actually find what they're passionate about. Like those stupid conversations, I'm 36, right? Mm-hmm. And, at the gym, sometimes we're talking about if college students are working out, and like they're talking, well, what do you want to be when you grow up and stuff? And they automatically know, right?
Yeah.
And, people with good careers down to the gym or whatever, they say, there's jokes like, oh, well, I'm 54 and I still don't know what I want to do with my life, and it's just like, you found something, right? I mean, you find a passion, and it's a matter of, but did you really?
But is it a passion, or did they find something that they're just naturally good at doing, and then they're just going with it? But that doesn't necessarily mean it's their passion.
Well, that's what happened to me, because, I found something and I just went with it. When I got my master's degree, I just took my first job that I got in academia and I was like, whatever, I'll just do it. I needed a job. I didn't care.
Yeah.
And I mean, did I have a passion for it? No, it was running the recreation center on the campus, which is just bowling and billiards and stuff, which I mean,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's fine. But I don't really care about bowling and billiards. I mean, I'm not knocking it. It's just not my thing. And so, but I was like, I knew that like, hey, this is not where I want to be. And
Yeah.
I got to go do something else about it. So
Yeah. But let me ask you this. If you were making like $150,000 a year working that job, would you be like, oh, I got to go? And
that's a good point. Cause I always thought about stuff like that. And I've really never wanted to set myself up and get trapped. People start making that type of money. It's all about like success, 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 and status quo. I bought the big house. I got that new sweet Tesla Cybertruck in my in my driveway. It's like, oh, look how good I'm doing. But then, what if that money goes away one day, and then it's like, oh, you're trapped. I'm saying, were you just buying that stuff just because you thought you had to be successful with all your friends, or did you really like that stuff? And so, but it's different. I mean, like but if I was having to feed my family on that or whatever, yeah, I would definitely do it. But I mean,
yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So like you're talking about that gentleman that was at the gym saying, well, I still don't even know what I want to do.
sure.
Right. So chances are he's just making really good money. He's really good at what he does. He's making a great income. But he's potentially maybe not feeling 100% fulfilled in his job. And that's okay. It's just, are you willing to explore it? Are you willing to explore what would give you the most fulfillment? And then can you do that as like, maybe like a side hustle or whatnot? Because, I think that could potentially build a little more satisfaction in life.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess our morals and values change over time, right?
Yeah, 100%.
So that you start. Okay, you never. All right, so you take a job of being an engineer. I guess that's what I said earlier, right? And you never really cared about engineering, but you take the job and you start doing it, and that one day you said that, hey, now after 10 years, I'm going to quit and start my side hustle for woodworking or whatever. But then you notice that, you're feeding your family and your kids and that you're able to give them a better life than what you had and stuff like that. So your values change. And it's like, well, you know what? I don't really care about the woodworking thing anymore. I just want to see my family do well. And so your morals and values change. I was like, oh, I'll just keep doing it along the way. And I'm good. And you say happy with that rather than just chasing your own dream.
Well, right. Well, and dreams can change. Dreams change, right? I mean, just as your values change. So, at one point, if your passion was woodworking and doing all that, all of a sudden you find your beautiful partner and you have children and you're just like, wow, all I want to do is care for these humans and seeing them smile is everything to me. So that's what's giving me the most fulfillment, not woodworking, although that's fun too. But like, I just want to see my family smile and be happy. Right. So of course that's going to change, but that's the beauty of it. I think our values are I mean, think about you at 20. God, I mean, if I had the same values that I had at 20, I'd be in big trouble.
I'm right there with you.
I would be in so much trouble. Yeah. So, I mean, you absolutely change, you evolve as a human, I think. And, that's what's beautiful, right? I mean, a lot of times when you meet people that you haven't seen since you graduated college, I'm sure they're like, man, you have changed. You are a totally different person. You're like, thank God.
Yeah, that's why.
Imagine if I were exactly the same. That would be horrible.
Yeah, if I was the same idiot back in college, like, as I kind of touched on earlier, that I was always the guy just like waiting for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Like, what are we doing tonight? Where are we going? Like, where's the party at? Like, I didn't care. And that's what, after college, I was done, like everyone else planned ahead and did stuff and started applying for jobs. And I was just kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing, So, but I mean, I regret that, but also that I guess I am thankful for it because it kind of, gave me a kick in the ass and just said, hey, dude, you got to start doing something here if you want to start.
But why do you regret it?
Well, because like I said, I regret it, but I kind of don't at the same time. But part of me is just like, I should have been more aware that, instead of, just waiting for Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, I should have been just thinking, hey, I'm actually graduating in 3 months. Maybe I should start applying for jobs, or maybe I should start figuring out what my next move is rather than just living for tomorrow and the day after. you know?
Yeah, but if you were to look at it in a different way and think of it like you had so many experiences during those weekends
Mm,
that you could have only done at that age. If
sure.
you were to do that now, you probably wouldn't. That would be a little tough. But you had those experiences at that age. That's the only time you would have been able to do it.
Mm.
And you've exposed yourself to things that maybe were a little scary, but you've seen it, right?
I guess I'm
And
thinking that I could have done both at the same time because it feels like other people were doing that too.
yeah,
And I wasn't, but again, I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. I'm not the same person I was 15 years ago. And
yeah,
so part of it that I do regret it, but I don't, because it give me that extra little boost to say like, okay, we got to start making changes. So,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I agree though. I mean, best times of my life for sure. I mean, we still, when we get together, we always reminisce like on nostalgia on the good old days. And
Yeah, yeah. Though those are always fun.
yeah. And here's a good point. I forgot, had a friend talking about this, with nostalgia, that people always remember the good times and not really remember anything bad. Does that kind of make sense? Like the
Yeah,
brain
I
works that
think
way?
I think for the most part, I mean, if you were to add trauma to that, I think that'd be a little different, right? Um,
I agree.
yeah, so I think depending on the person's history, if someone has had a very traumatic history or, constantly putting themselves in situations that were less than favorable,
Mm-hmm.
um, I probably think they disagree with that. But um, I do think that I as humans, we tend, even though I like that you think and remember all the great things because I think that's beautiful, but I think also as humans, we also tend to really focus on the negative because it's a defense mechanism,
Sure. True.
right? So that's our like, I'll remember that because I know if I do that again, this is a possible outcome, and I just want to avoid that. So the negative is always kind of like that,
Yeah.
prime
Yeah,
defense.
very primal. That's like how our brains are very survival instinct, like going back to, taking your leap of faith of trying to, or being a life coach, that it was like, well, maybe we shouldn't do this, Danielle, that maybe we should just stay in a safe zone, and because this could go really bad for us, but it's one of
Yeah, I've had people tell me that.
yeah, I've always been
Yeah.
told stuff like that. And that was part of, that journey that I was talking about earlier, that, I was one of those things, I start a job and I just keep going down that road and I don't really ask questions. I just keep going with the momentum. And then 5 years go by, 10 years go by, and then you're like, shit, what happened? Yeah. You're like, you know, like literally when I got my first full-time job in academia, I was like, oh, I'm going to be here for 5 years. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be done. I'll be out of here. And to my defense, that, I was applying for other jobs, but, it was always second best in those jobs. But I was like, all right, well, a couple more years. And like now I've been here 10 plus years now. I was like, shit, where'd time go? That was not my plan, but, not that I'm trapped or anything. I mean, but
But is it working for you?
yeah, it's working very well. And
So what makes it set in stone that you have to leave?
because, all right, I don't have to leave, but here's the thing, that we're talking about brains and shit like that. It's like comparison is a thief of joy, right? And it's so easy to like, start comparing yourself to look at other, or like how other people are living, and then you're like, shit, I could be in Nashville. Oh shit, I could be in Montana on a ranch.
Yeah.
And maybe that's really,
And a lot of those people are saying, shit, maybe I could do a podcast.
yeah, see, that's why I started this, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons. And I was like, I'll take a chance. But it's one of those things that, like I said, comparison's a thief of joy. And when I start doing that, it's got to put a red stop sign up in my head. It's like, hey, dude, what are you doing, man? This is not getting you anywhere. Like we were talking about, there's negative feedback loops.
Yeah.
Come on, dude, you're better than this, right?
Yeah.
Stop it. So
Yeah.
I
I think comparison to yourself is good.
Mm,
So comparing to others. And I learned that when so I competed in figure like my previous life.
nice.
And I remember stepping on stage and I was doing both natural and well, not natural, although they all say they are, organizations. But I was getting blood tested for this one, right? So I remember going into the Arnold bodybuilding show,
Yeah.
standing on stage and just looking at all these women, and I was like, what am I doing here? I'm like, I totally do not belong. But whatever. I just went and had fun with it. I ended up placing 7 out of 57, which I was totally stoked about. But I remember the next competition or show that I went to, I was like, I just want to look, because if I start comparing myself to all these girls on stage, I mean, they're all phenomenal, right? So my competition is just me. Like, I just need to make sure that I bring the best package of me to that stage. So let me do a progress picture of me then and then me now, and just focus on what I'm improving for myself. And then I learned that through fitness and trying to apply that in my career, in my personal growth, and in life in general, I think is probably the best skill that I've learned through that bodybuilding lifestyle. It's just learning to compare yourself only to yourself.
Was that part of imposter syndrome, do you think? Do you know what
No,
that
dude, I totally did not belong in that stage. I totally did not belong.
I mean, people thought you did if you got 7 out of 57.
Well, and here's the thing. I spoke to the judges, because I was in shock when they called me. I was like, what, really? But because I was already like, oh yeah, I definitely didn't make it. So when I was going on stage for the night show, where you actually like go and have fun and like, do your skit, I was just having a blast. I just went on stage. I was having fun. I was like talking to the crowd and just like doing whatever. And they were like, your presence just won everyone. And I was like, oh, sweet. I'm like, I didn't even realize you guys were measuring that, but okay. So I think it was just like that feeling of just go with it, just like have fun. Also, like, did me good. It like, helped me.
I love it. Like, yeah, have a good time with it. I mean, that's the best thing, is just to, release all those demons and stop, like you said, comparing. Just go with it,
Yeah, I was just like,
the best action, even if you don't plan it that way. Just see what happens,
Yeah, exactly. Just go with it. Just have fun. See what happens. Yeah, and that's always the fun outlook, right? It also is the one that could probably get you in a little bit of trouble. But trouble sometimes is fun too.
Yeah, you got to go through that.
I mean, we'll learn. we'll learn from our mistakes.
So Danielle, I hate to do this, but we got to wrap this up on that right there.
All right. Well, sounds good.
If people want to find you, if you want to plug anything, all that good stuff, tell them.
So you can always go on my website. It's www.coachdam.com. And my email is Danielle@coachdam.com. So.
Well, thanks for doing it. You're a badass person, man. I want to keep talking to you, but I got to wrap this up. So.
Oh, I loved it. Thank you so much for having me, Chris.
We're out of here, folks. See ya.
All right.